Top 10 Chilling Motives of Female Serial Killers. Welcome back to Creepshow, where we delve into the darkest corners of the human mind. Throughout history, many believe that men dominate the twisted world of serial killers. But tonight, we're uncovering the chilling stories of women whose motives go beyond what any fictional villain could conjure. These are tales of cold-blooded calculation, sinister rituals, and horrifying obsessions, where trust, love, and care were twisted into something truly monstrous. Hold tight, because these are the top 10 chilling motives of female serial killers that will make you question everything you thought you knew. Number 10. Clementine Barnabet. In 1912 and 1911, Louisiana was experiencing horrific axe murders. Horrible, gory crime scenes were left behind, and entire families were murdered as they slept. Clementine Barnabet, a young African-American woman, admitted to taking part in the killings. She asserted that she had a voodoo spell that would keep the cops from finding her. The 19-year-old said that in order to prevent the dead family's children from becoming orphans, she was the one who killed them. However, Barnabet altered her account so frequently that the police were unsure of whom to believe. She was given a life sentence at Louisiana Penitentiary after killing at least 35 people. It has been alleged that Barnabet underwent a treatment while incarcerated that restored her to normal conditions. She served 10 years and was released on good behavior. Number 9. Hazzard Linda. Early in the 20th century, Linda Hazzard was the sanitarium's manager. She employed a strict fasting regimen as her expertise. She held a Washington fasting specialist certification, despite having no official medical training. Hazzard thought that disease was caused by food, especially by eating too much of it. She gave daily enemas, tiny servings of vegetable broth, and intense massages that patients compared to beatings. Claire Williamson, the patient, received hour-long enemas in the bathtub and was given 2 cups of tomato broth every day. Hazzard was accused with first-degree murder because the woman starved to death and was under 70 pounds at the time of her death. Hazzard did not accept accountability for any of her patients' deaths. In her care, at least 15 people passed away. Death in the fast never results from deprivation of food, according to her belief. If someone died during a fast, it was likely because they were suffering from a condition that would have killed them eventually. Hazzard's medical license was withdrawn, and she was sentenced to hard time at the Walla Walla Penitentiary. She was only in uniform for 2 years. Number 8. Johnson, Martha Ann. From 1977 to 1982, Martha Ann Johnson choked to death 3 of her own children. Every murder happened after a marital fight between the victim and her husband. Every time he left, a youngster passed away. Johnson, then 21 years old, and her 3rd husband resided with her other marriage's children in September 1977. Johnson took her 2-year-old to the hospital shortly after her husband stormed out following a disagreement. Doctors declared the child dead and diagnosed sudden infant death syndrome as the cause. Johnson and her spouse made up and went on to have 2 more kids. When they fought again in 1980, their 3-month-old child perished. Cot death was also attributed to this deceased. Soon later, the couple got into another argument, and their little boy passed away. Johnson's eldest daughter died of suffocation 1 year later for an undisclosed cause. Johnson, who is currently wed to her 4th husband, admitted in 1989. She told of how she had rolled her 250-pound frame across 2 youngsters, suffocating them until they passed away. She claimed that her ultimate goal in punishing her husband was to force him to return home. She denied that she had killed her other 2 kids. Johnson is incarcerated at Pulaski State Prison for life. Number 7. The Tillie Klimek. In her community, Tillie Klimek was well known for her remarkable knack for foretelling fatalities. The Polish-American asserted that dreams may predict the death of a neighbor or even a stray dog. However, they were actions rather than visions or prophecies. She predicted that Klimek caused deaths. Klimek revealed to friends in 1914 that she had dreamed her husband was ill and would pass away in a few weeks. As she had foretold, he indeed passed away. Klimek was remarried in less than a month and started having visions of her new husband's death. 3 months later, husband number 2 passed away. Soon, a new beau appeared on the scene. After consuming some candy that Klimek had given him, he was very unwell and passed away shortly after. Klimek remarried after a few years. The couple moved into an apartment that Klimek had previously shared with a different man who had vanished without explanation. Klimek gave her neighbors confidence that her third husband would not live to be too old. She even carried a coffin with her. After the Mr. passed away in April 1921, Klimek got married 4 times. Husband number 4 sought medical attention when he became ill, in contrast to the men who came before him. Examinations verified that he was experiencing arsenic toxicity. After being detained, Klimek admitted to using rat poison laced with arsenic and soot to poison her spouse. After excavating Klimek's deceased spouses, investigators discovered that each of them had deadly levels of arsenic in their bodies. Klimek admitted during her trial that she had murdered 20 people in addition to a number of animals. She was found guilty of a single murder and given a life sentence without the chance of release. She passed away at Illinois State Penitentiary in 1936 at the age of 60. Number 6. Jane Toppan. The doctors who employed Jane Toppan thought she was one of the best nurses, and she was well respected for her work. To kill more helpless people than any other man or woman who ever lived, however, was Toppan's goal, in contrast to the majority of nurses who made a vow to aid others. Toppan was nicknamed Jolly Jane by her nursing classmates because of her gregarious nature. Hospital managers saw that the gifted nursing student had a fascination with autopsies. They were blind to the fact that she used her elderly patients as test subjects for medication experiments. Toppan finished her education, but since she overused prescription opiates, she lost her first position in a hospital. Still, physicians referred the knowledgeable nurse to their affluent patients as a private nurse. She started murdering her clients one by one. After giving her patients their medications, she cuddled them. As her victims passed away, she cuddled them and observed with delight as they gasped their life out. When she was detained in 1901, she admitted to killing at least 31 individuals. However, the total number of fatalities may have been as high as 100. She acknowledged that she got a sex high from seeing people who were on the verge of death resurrect and then die again. Following a 77-minute jury deliberation and an 8-hour trial, Toppan was declared not guilty by reason of insanity. She died in 1938 and lived out the remainder of her days in a state hospital. Number 5. Graham Gwendolyn and Wood Catherine. Deadly infatuation. In 1986, Gwendolyn Graham and Catherine Wood worked as assistants in a Grand Rapids assisted living facility. Graham allegedly relieved tension in the beginning of 1987 by fatally smothering an elderly woman. She and Wood killed 4 additional patients in a similar fashion over the course of the following 2 months. At the time, the deaths were not thought to be suspicious. Wood asserted that they intended to spell murder. Therefore, they selected their victims based on their initials. Wood gabbed after the pair left. In exchange for her testimony against her Graham, she accepted a plea deal. Wood stated that Graham was the main culprit and mastermind behind the crimes. Graham received 5 life sentences after being found guilty on 5 charges of murder. Wood was given a 40-year prison term after entering a guilty plea to second-degree murder. Some people suspect that Wood, having caught Graham with another lady, was the one who organized the killings. Graham was drawn into the plot by Wood as a safety measure to retain her. Wood then used his influence over the prosecutor and jury to get Graham exactly what he wanted by voluntarily admitting to being an accessory to murder. Number 4. Whiteling Sarah. One by one, Sarah Whiteling's family members passed away. John's husband was the first to depart. Bowel irritation was the cause of John's death, according to Dr. George Smith. Smith attributed stomach fever to the death of his daughter Bertha a month later. William, age 2, passed away in less than 2 months. The cause of death was identified as intestinal blockage. Smith reported the 3 fatalities to the coroner. After the bodies were excavated, a significant amount of arsenic was discovered. After being taken into custody, Whiteling told how her family had been killed with rat poison. She stated that John was sad and unable to support his family, so he poisoned himself. Because Whiteling was afraid that Birdie might grow up to be sinful and wicked, she gave her daughter the poison. To get her son out of the way, she poisoned him. She couldn't support him, so he was a burden. She thought about killing herself, but she didn't want to commit a sin. "I want to meet my children when I die because I know they are angels in heaven," she remarked. "Since my spouse committed suicide and suiciders are not allowed in heaven, I don't anticipate running into him there." Afterwards, she acknowledged that she had also slain John. "I went home and gave my husband some poison because the devil possessed me, and I did as he instructed." Whiteling faced 3 charges of homicide. She was the first woman executed by hanging in Philadelphia in 1889. Number 3. Diane O'Dell. Diane O'Dell was a mother of 12. A confused and unsettling timeline appears to have claimed the lives of 4 of them. O'Dell separated from her spouse and their 3 kids in 1981. She gave birth to 3 additional children over the course of the following 4 years without anyone knowing. She claimed that because she has a hefty build, she was able to conceal her illness. O'Dell met Robert Sauerstein in 1985. She would go on to have 5 more children with him, and he would become her common-law husband. According to reports, Sauerstein was unaware that his wife was carrying 3 infant corpses as they frequently moved from one state to another. The body of a baby was discovered in a suitcase in a car that was going to be crushed in 1989. The vehicle was linked to O'Dell. She acknowledged that, as a teenager, she gave birth to that child in 1972. She stated that her late father's beatings were the reason the baby was stillborn. The other 3 dead babies remained unidentified, and no charges were brought. The bodies were held by O'Dell until 1992, when she disposed of them in a storage shed in Arizona. The babies' corpses were eventually found in the abandoned storage container in 2003. According to every story, O'Dell killed the infants because they weren't biological. Regarding the murdered kids, the district attorney handling the case remarked, "They were unwanted, and they were the bastard children." O'Dell is currently incarcerated for life. Number 2. Hoyt Waneta. A medical journal reported in 1972 that sudden infant death syndrome, or SIDS, was a hereditary condition. It provided strong proof in the form of the deaths of Molly and Noah Hoyt, siblings. 20 years later, a jury would conclude that their mother had killed Molly, Noah, their 2 brothers, and their sister. Waneta Hoyt confessed to authorities in 1994 that she had smothered her children, Molly, Eric, Julie, James, and Noah, in an attempt to silence them. "I lost my patience with the sobbing. It was the reason I killed them all, since I was at a loss on what to do for them. 3 of the kids were stuffed into pillows, 1 was wrapped in a bath towel, and the other was squeezed up against her mother's shoulder." She received a 15-year sentence for each homicide. 1998 saw Hoyt's death in prison. Due to her passing before her appeal, she was officially declared innocent. Pro. Number 1. Monica Susan. Susan. Monica managed a swine farm. She shot a handyman in 2012 and gave his body to her pigs. She reported to the police that the man had shot himself 5 times in the head and was suicidal. Afterwards, she recanted her account and asserted that she shot the man to defend herself. She claimed that rather than feeding the pigs, the handyman's body was dragged away by them on their own. For the next 2 weeks, they picked his bones clean. Monica buried the skull and other remnants after that. Monica treated another handyman in the same way a year later. She stated that the man was attacked by pigs, so she put him out of his suffering by shooting him out of charity. Her fear of having her pigs put down kept her from reporting the shootings. Monica stated, "I do not value human life very much," during her interrogation. "I believe that the existence of humans is the only thing wrong with the planet. Every other animal, including dodo birds, would still be present if it weren't for us." Monica received a 50-year prison term. The swine were put to death. And there you have it. Stories of women who stepped far beyond the line of morality, driven by motives that are both chilling and hard to comprehend. Whether they were fueled by revenge, twisted love, or a thirst for power, these female serial killers remind us that darkness doesn't discriminate by gender. If you found this video intriguing, be sure to hit the like button and subscribe for more deep dives into the macabre. What other terrifying tales would you like us to cover next? Let us know in the comments below. And remember, monsters can wear many faces, and sometimes they look just like you and me. Stay safe, stay curious, and we'll see you next time on Creepshow.